Terrific. Okay, well, our next speaker is the first of our company CEOs. We have Lee Courier from NextGen Energy on the line. So if we can promote Lee to the panel. And Lee, you can share your screen when you're ready. So for those who don't know Lee, he's a good Aussie Adelaide lad. He's been in the industry for many years. He's come out of a corporate finance background originally, but he founded NextGen in 2011, and in the early period of NextGen's existence, made what is absolutely absolutely extraordinary uranium discovery in the Athabasca Basin at the Arrow deposit, part of the Rook I project. We recently initiated coverage on NextGen, and I think I made a comment in the opening paragraph of our initiation report that it's hard to overstate just how high quality this resource is. It is absolutely astonishing in terms of its size and grade in particular. The measured and indicated core of this ore body is grading 17% uranium, and we're talking here 20 times the average uranium grade that's being produced around the globe at the moment. So this is an astonishing resource, clearly going to be a mine at some point. And Lee, you're going to take us through the story of NextGen, how you found Arrow, and what the pathway now is to turning Rook I into a producing uranium mine. So Lee, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Andrew, and thank you for that introduction. Look, it's a very exciting time in nuclear. The demand scenario has never been stronger. Having been in the industry since 2002 when I started, look, the public perception of nuclear wasn't or anywhere near as strong as it is today. And I think that reflects that the general public out there have really taken on board just the importance of energy policy around the world and how it impacts the average standard of living globally. And you mentioned earlier we discovered this fabulous ore body in 2014. Just went past the 10-year anniversary recently, and we've all been working very hard in developing this magnificent project. But they do take time. They take an enormous amount of time. And whilst the demand scenario is strong and getting stronger, the supply side, I would say, has never been so fragile. And so I'm really glad the NextGen team and the other companies that you'll be hearing from today, the bosses and the Dennisons, etc., who have been working on developing the projects during the last 10 years. It's vitally important that the world, and particularly the Western world, gets a diversification of Western world mine supply. And we're all really well aware of the impact Russia's had on the Ukraine, and currently 44% of the world's nuclear fuel is provided by Russia and Russian-influenced countries. The Rook I project, as per my slide here, is absolutely essential to meeting the growing demand for uranium and delivering clean energy and secure energy solutions. I'm not going to take a lot of time on the uranium market today because our previous panelists have done an exceptional job in doing that, and particularly Treva from Trade Tech, her appreciation of the nuclear fuel market is very strong. NextGen, we are levered to future uranium market prices, 100% levered. And it's a real policy of NextGen that that's what we provide the market. We have a very unique asset. Andrew, you mentioned earlier its phenomenal grade and size, but I would say also what makes it very unique on the global uranium stage is that it's in incredibly competent ground conditions and it has exceptionally clean metallurgy. So whilst this is, as per the feasibility study, capable of producing 30 million pounds per annum, which is about 25% of world production, but around 50% of global Western supply when going into production, it's actually going to be coming from a very small mine physically, 1,300 tonnes a day. Now, to give that some volume perspective, we're talking approximately 1.5 double-decker buses only of ore being mined per day. It's an incredibly small mine and exceptionally elite from an environmental perspective. We're located in the world-class jurisdiction of Saskatchewan, and sovereign location is absolutely paramount with respect to the procurement of nuclear fuel amongst the utilities. We are in the final stages of the federal environmental assessment and licensing for up to 30 million pounds per annum, and that is for a 24-year permit with respect to the initial phases of this production. And look, the NextGen team is continually delivering industry-leading outcomes with respect to every aspect of the project, be it technical, environmental, social, and doing it in a manner which is highly efficient from a dollars invested perspective. I'm not going to spend, as I said, long on the demand and supply scenario, because our previous panelists did such a wonderful job in articulating that this market is changing, and it's changing rapidly. And the demand for uranium up 127% by 2030 and 200% by 2040. In fact, I think these numbers are probably they have not incorporated the recent announcement by India, who is going to undergo a tremendous increase in the amount of nuclear capacity between now and 2032, only over the next 8 years. So the demand is growing, and supply is, as I said, continually under a very fragile state as we currently speak. Leverage to uranium. Now, there's been a lot of commentary about this, and Treva has said this market has changed substantially over the last 12 months. Even over the last 6 months, there was a spread between $60 floors and $80 ceilings, a $20 spread. And as Treva articulated, that what we're seeing recently is that the floors are at or near current spot price, but we're seeing ceilings over $120 a pound. So that spread between the floors and ceilings has increased dramatically over the last 6 months, and that's representing that that the actual state of mine production is fragile, and that the price needed to incentivize developers needs to incorporate flexibility around being tied to the spot price at the time of delivery. And that's NextGen's focus, where we have very high certainty over our production volumes at any given time once we had the permit and we've constructed and in production. And we have a very low all-in sustaining cost of $10.69 a pound. So with respect to NextGen, we're not as focused on seeking a floor price because we have a natural downside hedge given the very low cost structure, but we also provide utilities very high levels of certainty around production volumes. And that is why we purposely have set out on a contracting strategy that reflects the economic profile of our mine and the technical profile of our mine. The technical profile gives large certainty to the utilities as to they will get delivery in the future, and hence as a company, we're looking to optimize the return on every pound produced. We want that tied to the prevailing market prices at the time of delivery. With respect to what prices that may be, and I'll let everyone judge for themselves, but there's the sensitivity that this project hosts. We have a highly cash generative project in all pricing environments. A lot of people ask me when is final investment decision? Well, we made that back in 2017 when we put out the pre-feasibility study, which showed the phenomenal economics of this project. And so just as per some sensitivity for the viewers, at $75 a pound we're generating EBITDA of 2.5 billion. At 100, it's just under $3.4 billion. Now, on an after-tax cash flow basis, that'll take us into the top 10 mining companies globally, excluding the gold companies, of course. But look, as Trevor said, we're seeing ceilings at over $120 a pound. And with this demand growing and the fragility of supply for the next 4 to 5 years, we are expecting to see those uranium prices to go significantly higher than 120. This project is phenomenal from a economic perspective and return on capital perspective. It basically has a payback period at the current spot price of around 10 months, which is absolutely incredible for a project of this nature. I've also shown some sensitivity up to $150 a pound and where that would rank us on that top 10 world mining company list. And I don't believe any of those other companies there actually have an environmental profile such as NexGen, which is the equivalent of powering 46 million homes in the US carbon-free. And to put that into other perspective, it would remove the equivalent of 70 million vehicles off the road every year in CO2 equivalent. That's quite incredible when you consider Tesla produced 1.8 million cars in 2023, which are currently needing to be powered through electricity, but 70 million vehicles of CO2 equivalent off the road every year. Now, I showed some valuations based on the previous slide on pure economics. I assert that the valuation of the reduction in carbon emissions that our uranium fuel, our nuclear fuel, is going to create will also start receiving or accruing an incredible value on the environmental component as well, in addition to that economic analysis that I just showed you. So it's incredible from an economic perspective. It's incredible from an environmental perspective as well. Some of the things that we have ahead of us in 2024, it's going to be a very busy news year for NexGen. We're in the final stages of our federal environmental approval. We're down to less than 50 aspects, which we are in the process of closing out. We'll be resubmitting the response to those aspects in the coming weeks. Simultaneously, we're running the final stages of the federal licensing update. Those two, the EA and the licensing, is running in parallel. Completion of our site confirmation program around the geotechnical aspects of the two shafts. Everything we've seen to date has been validated our previous assertions and in fact improved them. We are in the final stages of analysing the shaft sinking contractors. We're down to a very short list after a very extensive period of time, which is going to be a major contract for the project. And obviously, commencement of the shafts is subject to the federal EA approval, which we are also seeking. The CapEx and formalising the financing package have been very transparent. Inflation has impacted Rook I, as it has every project or industry around the world. But suffice to say, with all of those impacts, the payback period has improved given the improvement in the spot price since we last did the feasibility study, which incorporated $50 US throughout the life of the mine. We are in the final stages of negotiating contracts for uranium offtake and incorporating those principles that I mentioned earlier about our production being tied to the spot prices at the time of delivery and minimising the hedged nature that we currently see amongst the producers. And commence major construction post permits. We are ready to construct. We're currently about to commence additional crushing of gravel, which is 100% Indigenous owned business that we've helped establish. Trained over 20 people, and that's about to fire up and start crushing the gravel for the roads, the airstrip, and the foundations. And as we announced recently, during our 30,000 metre exploration program for 2024, we've made an incredible intercept, and all with the purpose of finding another arrow. It's 30,000 metre programs. We're currently in that highlighted green section, which is host to arrow. This brown line going through the tenements there is the edge of the Athabasca Basin. So conceivably, we are in the shallowest part of the basin. Hence, we find something, as we did with arrow, it's incredibly economic. And we're targeting the basement, which provides very, very competent ground conditions for extraction. The actual discovery, which we announced only about 2 weeks ago, is highlighted here in the mustard-coloured star. And to put it into context, it's in terms of context to arrow, which I'm asked a lot, the discovery hole at Arrow did not provide such broad and intense mineralisation as this one, which we've discovered 3.5 kilometres away. It's probably the most analogous to the 27th hole that we drilled at Arrow, and then very shortly after, that's when we hit AR30, 3 holes later. And AR30 at the time was the 4th best exploration hole in uranium exploration history from surface, where it intersected 46 odd metres at 10% uranium. That hole is no longer in the top 20 holes of exploration, and all the other holes are at Arrow from surface. I just want to put in context, these deposits do take time. We're incredibly pleased with how with this intercept. We've got a lot of work to do, and but the takeaway is you're not, like, given the ground the ground setting, the geophysics, what we're seeing in the other holes that we have actually not hit mineralization in and around this hole, they are all signifying that we're onto a major system, and it's somewhere in the area there. You don't get this type of intercept on its own with such intense mineralization without being near something of very, very high significance, as we discovered and materialized at Arrow. So yeah, very, very exciting. And obviously any type of mineralization within economic distance has a very high economic consequence onto the feasibility study, as we've outlined. I might just leave it there and hand over to Andrew for any questions in the interest of time.
Thank you, Lee. Yeah, very, very good overview. Thank you very much. A couple of questions. So the next stage for you, I guess, is getting this federal environmental approvals, which you've already got the provincial approvals, and I think most people would expect the federal approvals would just come in behind the province, and it would be relatively straightforward. But you need to get a hearing date. Can you just talk us a little bit through the process of what's going on there and when you expect to get that date?
Yeah, Andrew, as you said, we do have the provincial approval, which is like an enormous effort and milestone. And with respect to the federal approval, it incorporates an overview of that provincial process, also a public comment period, which we've answered all the questions. And we are really, like I said, we're down to less than 50 aspects that we're closing out. We're very respectful of the federal process, and the CNSC are doing a wonderful job. We are submitting the response to those 48 aspects in the coming weeks, and we expect an efficient turnaround. As you're aware, we have 100% Indigenous community support for our project. They can't wait for the project to receive approval, because we can materially increase contracting, employment, and community social programs on receiving that approval. Every indication from the government of Canada has been incredibly positive. There was the issuance of a green bond recently for nuclear project. Jonathan Wilkinson, the Environment Minister, came out and said we are going to expedite the approval process for nuclear projects. Now, NextGen is at one, I would suggest, at the top of that list or very near to it. So we are very, very excited and looking forward to the announcement of that commission hearing date to conclude the federal EA process and get into construction. As I mentioned, we are ready. We know exactly what we're building. All the early stages are 100% engineered, and we've got the team in place as well, and the contractors.
Yeah, great. But as I said in the opening comments, it's obvious this will become a mine one day. Are you intending to announce or to release like an updated DFS at all? You know, given the DFS is sort of 3 years old, and you know you did sort of mention in passing clearly the cost numbers will have increased from there, and it is in a more challenging jurisdiction of the Athabasca Basin in terms of infrastructure than the eastern part of the basin there. So, yeah, is there going to be some sort of release to the market about what the new costs will be?
Yeah, our previous DFS was all-encompassing. There has been uranium mining in the area in the past, in the 80s and 90s at Clough Lake, 70 kilometres away. So there's an all-weather access highway that's within 13 kilometres of the project. We installed roads into the balance right up to the Arrow deposit. So we're ready to construct the full program. Inflation has had an impact, and we're currently finalising the scope or the design scope around the water treatment in order to enhance the long-term environmental performance of the project over and above what we are permitting for, because we want elite environmental performance. We will provide an update once we've concluded that finalisation of the design scope. But to put it in perspective, what we're doing is we've already got a design that's well within all the parameters as per the permit, and we're looking to improve it in the long-term interests of environmental performance. And we'll look to do that and issue that most likely in the second half of this year once that's concluded. But suffice to say, I can tell you with respect to that CapEx, it will not impact our ability to finance the project. We've got quite a few avenues, both the debt side, also project equity-wise and offtake-wise, where the financing of this project will not be encumbered whatsoever with respect to the CapEx.
Yeah, thanks, Lee. I'd imagine that'd be the case given the earnings capacity of this project. Payback periods are less than 12 months. It's an eminently financeable project, clearly. Lee, thank you so much for your time. It's super exciting times for NextGen, an extraordinary resource, and well done getting it to this point. Also, super exciting to see those exploration results coming through, which 30,000 metre drilling program this year. Good luck with that. I hope you get some further good hits. And good luck getting the environmental and federal approvals through this year. And we look forward to following your progress over the next year and two and three, and see Rook I become a uranium mine.
Yeah, thank you, Andrew, and thank you, Shaws and Partners, for the opportunity and the support that you're showing NextGen.
Terrific. Thank you, Lee.